I love it when friends of cocktails write in and help with the content we are creating. So when we posted the Cocktail Hacks episode, we got a lot of comments and DMs with tips and tricks you use, or started to use, to elevate your cocktail game. Some of you even pointed out a few things I use regularly, but forgot to mention in that episode. So here's part 2, with 16 new cocktail hacks. If you find any of them useful, make sure to subscribe below and hit the bell icon for more tips and tricks in the future. Maybe an episode on ice hacks might be cool, so if you have any tricks of the trade on that, drop them in the comments. Now, it's cocktail time. I'll start with making myself a quick drink, for something to sip on as I talk, but also to show you the first hack: dash or rinse potent ingredients so they don't overpower your drink. Some ingredients like mezcal, bitter scotch, overproof rum, and absinthe are known to have really powerful flavor profiles, but also some liqueurs like green chartreuse, maraschino, Cointreau, and Sous can quickly take over your cocktail if you add too much. You can find some of these in half-size bottles that are perfect for adding a dasher top, for greater control than adding half of a bar spoon, for example. A lot of historical cocktail recipes call for dashes of these ingredients, or like in the case of the Cesar, to rinse your glass and discard the liqueur afterwards. For my whiskey highball, where I don't want to overpower my 1.5 ounce or 45 ml of Etoch Atlantis, but I know orange will pair nicely with its coffee notes, I'll add 3 dashes of Cointreau orange liqueur. Give it a stir and it's almost ready. Since we are on the subject of dashing, here's hack number 2. Get dasher bottles for more precise dashing of bitters. I decided to compare the dashes of 3 bitters bottles: Angostura, the short neck dasher bottle I usually use, and the well-known Japanese-style dasher bottle. Dashes of Angostura bitters can vary significantly if you have a full or nearly empty bottle. The nearly empty bottle gives you around 22% bigger dashes than a full one. The dasher bottles I use are a lot more precise, with only a 3% difference from full to almost empty, due to a shorter neck, but the dashes are about 33% smaller than the average of a Angostura bottle. With a Japanese-style dasher bottle, you get even smaller dashes, and you need at least 3 times as many dashes to get to what the Angostura bottle gives you. It also doesn't work well at all if you fill it up too much, so go for the bitter bottles with a shorter neck. I'll link them in the description below, together with other useful things I mentioned in the episode. And now, to finish the cocktail, a spray of orange essential oils. But what if you don't always have fresh citrus on hand? Make yourself a spray of essential oil and vodka for quick and easy replacement of citrus pills. You can use any citrus or even mint essential oils, but like always with essential oils, make sure to use those that are all natural and always follow the recipe, so they get properly diluted. For my orange mist, I mixed 6 drops of orange essential oil with 1 ounce or 30 ml of overproof vodka, gave it a good mix, then transferred it to a spray bottle. Always give it a shake before use and spray 2 to 3 times over the cocktail to add a nice sweet orange aroma. Cheers! Another way to add citrus aroma, especially for cocktails with a frothy head, is to grate lemon or orange peel on top. Here's a hack that can be used for baking as well. Freeze citrus husks to make grating the peel easier. I showed this trick in the Drink Masters episode, and like mentioned back then, typically when you grate citrus zest, the essential oils make the zest clumpy and it sticks to the grater. But if you place citrus halves in the freezer, the zest becomes easier to grate. I learned this hack from my mom's baking skills. So don't go throwing away those spent lemon husks when juicing lemon, but put them in the freezer. And to finish the subject of garnishing sour cocktails, use a hot one strainer or even cookie stencils to garnish the foam on your sour cocktails. Freeze-dried fruits like berries, pineapple, or dried herbs can be a great pairing to many cocktails and make for a beautiful presentation. Place the stencil on top of the cocktail, then sprinkle your powder through it. You can create your own stencils as well, of course, to match it to your cocktail. Store your powders in an airtight container, so it doesn't clump together from the moisture in the room. Since we're already talking about the hot on strainer, let's clarify one hack we mentioned last time. You can separate your egg white using a hot on strainer, but you might need to adjust it slightly. If your coils are really tight and close to the back plate, it might prevent the egg white from dripping through. Push the coil away slightly, and that will do the trick for separating egg white and egg yolk for your sour cocktails. Staying with the hot on strainer, here's another thing a lot of you suggested when I showed you can pour 2 cocktails using a spouted portafilter. Use a hot on strainer to pour 2 cocktails at once. This doesn't work with every hot on strainer, so if you want to use this hack, make sure you get one with a double slit like this. You'll find this hack in Jeffrey Morgenthaler's bar book as well. And the trick is to really close the hot on strainer tightly and to have 2 glasses that can touch rim to rim. Speaking of a glass rim, there's a fun alternative to cutting up a citrus. Just to rub it on the glass as glue for whatever you want to add to the rim, especially if you're using super juice and you don't have a citrus fruit already cut in half. Make your own flavored glue for rimming with liqueurs and sweeteners. For this example, I'll mix 3/4 of an ounce or 22.5 ml of corn throw, 15 grams of honey, and 0.5 grams of citric acid. Experiment with flavors that pair with the cocktail you're making. So if you're making a margarita, use agave syrup. This mixture will be shelf stable and can be stored in a small jar, and then applied to the glass with a brush. Thin or thick strips, circles, whatever you like. Then dip it or sprinkle it with salt, sugar, or our next hack. Don't settle for just salt and sugar for rims and garnishes. Use powdered liqueurs or fruits on the side of the glass to add flavor to your cocktail. We already mentioned and showed freeze-dried fruits, but another thing that can really elevate your cocktails is powdered liqueur. We made this powdered Campari dust when I made the fluffy jungle bird, and it's still good. I'll combine it together with dried red dragon fruit to create a visually stunning garnish. Your call on what cocktail to add into this glass. As for adding flavor to your cocktails, flavored syrups are always great to have, but if you have a limited storage space, one of you suggested a great alternative. Use tinctures to flavor your base syrup instead of making a lot of special flavored syrups. Tim McFisher suggested baking spices or masala spice tinctures, but you can also make a syrup flavored with citrus tinctures, vanilla, cinnamon, you name it. If you'd like an episode on tinctures, let me know. As for gum syrup, we already made it on the channel. The easiest way, however, is to get Library & Co.'s Classic Gum Syrup. It's a 2-to-1 syrup, and the addition of gum arabic gives it a silky and more luxuriant mouthfeel when compared to the regular simple syrup. Gum arabic will also work as an emulsifier for the tinctures. We mix them together with the syrup. Find the link to this and their wide line of syrups in the description. Different tinctures might give you different results, so start with a small amount, 50 ml of the gum syrup, and let's add a few dashes of orange tincture. Mix and taste it, and adjust as needed. Make sure to write the right ratio for the next time, and don't be afraid to experiment with tinctures and other stuff as well, like tea, milkshakes, creme brulee, baked fruits, and so on. If you'll make a ginger tincture or the zero gin we made a few weeks ago, you'll want to use this next hack. Cut ginger thinly with a peeler and peel it with a spoon. Peeling ginger with a spoon is well known by now, for good reason. It really works the best. And to make the surface area as large as possible, you want to cut it as thinly as possible. So a peeler really comes in handy for this. This will make for a really efficient infusion. And a peeler is of course a great tool for other fruits and vegetables, like a cucumber, if you want to add a strip on the inside of your highball glass. Another thing I forgot to mention last time, because I use it so often, it's not even a trick or a hack, but it will save your wine-based ingredients. Seal wine, wine-based aperitifs, and of course vermouth with vacuum stoppers, and for sparkling wine, use pressure stoppers. These stoppers will make it possible to suck out excess oxygen, which is usually the enemy of wine. It will keep your wine-based ingredients fresh for longer. But as you've probably heard before, always store them in the fridge once opened. As for sparkling wine, you want the champagne stoppers, which make it possible to build pressure in the bottle, to keep the bubbles in the wine. If you keep it for too long, we have an episode with ideas on what to make with flat sparkling wine. A sous vide is a staple tool on cocktail time, but today I'll show you that you don't need a vacuum sealer or a sous vide cooker to achieve the same effect with 2 hacks in one. Use a ziplock sous vide bag and the pressure water to vacuum seal your ingredients in a bag, and use a cooking thermometer to control the right temperature during cooking. Once you have your ziplock sous vide bag filled with the ingredients, you'll slowly submerge it in water. The pressure water will push the air out of the bag, and you can seal the bag as that happens. Once you get to the top edge of the bag, close the last part of the ziplock and you'll have all ingredients and zero air in your bag. Now before you cook them, make sure you have the water at the right temperature. To do that, I'll use a simple cooking thermometer that will let me know if the temperature spikes or dips, and I'll also clamp the bag on the side of the pot, so it doesn't touch the bottom. With this, you really need to make sure your bags are suited for cooking and not just an ordinary ziplock bag. Keeping your DIY ingredients organized can be a challenge once you dive into the world of mixology. So, always label what you're making, especially when it's ready to be placed on the shelf or the freezer. I was happy when somebody asked what label maker we use in cocktail time. It's just the cheap one we got off of Amazon. But it works well and it has a great DIY feel to it. Rob is usually the one making the labels as we are filming. We'll link the label maker below as well. And lastly, something I learned when making the coffee fat washed vodka for the clear espresso martini. A paper towel can be used as a filter in place of a cheesecloth or a coffee filter. Make sure it's large enough. Fold it twice in half. Then twist in the shape of a coffee filter and place it on your funnel. It worked great with the coffee oil we made, so I'm sure it can work with some other infusions as well. And as I reach the bottom of the glass, it's time for the most important hack to improve your cocktail game. Homework before pour work. Always write down what you're making before you start with experimenting and pouring ingredients. Something I learned in college is that you need to start with a blueprint, a jotted down idea, as the base for your R&D. That will help you learn about ingredients, create less waste, and waste less time in the prep work. And if you're not happy with the result, you go back, write that down, and change something for round 2. You'll see progression and learn from it. Oh, and use half measurements when experimenting with new recipes, especially if you need to try several variations. You've got to keep clear head after all. If you have more tips and tricks, let me know below, and I'll go on and use these hacks to create new recipes. Here's a list of my signature cocktails to see what I created over the years. I'll see you next time with more recipes and tricks.